Whether it's a rustic stone-built smithy under a spreading chestnut tree or a modern industrial unit, blacksmithing is usually associated with having plenty of space. Sadly, space is a commodity I'm short on, so just how compact can I make a usable blacksmith forge? Keep watching as I start to bring some ideas together. Hi, my name's Jenny List. I grew up around a small metalworking business, but I now have no workshop or forge of my own. Welcome to Metal Bashing with Jenny, and join me as I fool around with hot metal as best I can. Perhaps it's best to start a discussion of a blacksmith's forge by asking what it should contain. For me, the three things I need are a hearth of some kind to heat my workpiece, an anvil to work it on, and a bucket of water in which to quench it. Sounds pretty simple, but in those three are a load of interesting choices. My dad's hearth was a large affair like this one from a Finnish blacksmith, with a forced air blower feeding air through a cast iron tuya, a sort of nozzle, into a bed of glowing pieces of hot coke. It had a large hood to take the fumes away, and when cranked up it could place a huge amount of heat into whatever lump of steel you put in it. It's great to have such a large and controllable hearth, but I simply don't have the space for a setup like that, and I probably can't take the fumes and ash it creates with me to hacker camps and hacker spaces. A possible alternative is to make a small version of such a hearth in a discarded cast iron brake drum, but that only makes the ash and fume problem a bit smaller. Very tempting are the many induction heater modules you'll find on AliExpress and other sites. These are in effect a high power, low frequency radio transmitter which dumps a lot of RF into a coil. Any ferromagnetic material in the coil's field then has eddy currents induced in it which cause it to heat up. They're cool as heck, but also expensive, and by my experience with the smaller ones, pushing their MOSFETs too close to the limit of failure. So I'm going for a relatively clean and simple choice of a gas flame. In this case, a gas blowtorch surrounded by a fire brick enclosure, which should be easily enough to heat up the kind of small pieces I'll be working. Meanwhile, on the anvil side, I won't be able to use a large traditional anvil like the one my dad had, or the one from RevSpace you see me working in the intro. I'll have to make do with a much smaller and more portable anvil. I wrote a Hackaday piece a year or two ago about selecting an anvil. Suffice to say that it's very much a case of you get what you pay for, and there are some relatively useless anvil-shaped objects out there. I've decided to go for the tried and tested route for tiny forges of using an anvil made from a piece of railway track. I sourced a short piece of rail and was all ready for the tedious task of cutting and grinding it, when I was lucky enough to spot one ready-made in a second-hand shop near the Danish Bornhack hacker camp. The Dane who made and used it may well have passed away, but I thank him for having done quite a decent job with his anvil. Of course, an anvil on its own isn't much use, particularly a tiny one. It needs a substantial base to raise it to work height and to support the forces of being repeatedly hit with a hammer. What I have in mind is a work table that's also a wheelable cart, just big enough for anvil and gas hearth and constructed from substantial timber. And finally, there's the bucket of water for quenching. It really is just that, a bucket of water, but ever since that damn TV show where all they seem to do is make knives, people seem to think it should contain oil instead. You use what you want, but my dad and every other professional blacksmith I have ever met uses water. So there you have it. That's what I'm setting out to do. It didn't seem appropriate to call my forging work What's on Jenny's Bench, so welcome to a new series of mine, Metal Bashing with Jenny. I don't have a sponsor for my videos, but as before I'd like to take a moment to talk about something else I'm involved with. I'm a board member of a small non-profit called Trans Rescue. We exist to help trans people like me escape dangerous and dodgy places around the world. I'd like you to take a look at our website and see what we do, and if you can, help us to continue our work. Thanks very much, and thank you for watching this video.